The 14th Dalai Lama has changed his stance over the years regarding Tibet. Earlier, he was in a favor of making Tibet a separate independent state or a nation. But now, over the years, we are seeing that he is in a favor of Tibet remaining a part of China as a true autonomous region. What is this entire matter? Why is the institution of Dalai Lama so influential? What is his position with respect to India-China relationship? And the history of Tibet will also be discussed in detail in today's class. Do not worry about the notes because I provide the notes through my Telegram channel by the name of Pooja Dwivedi UPSC. This Telegram channel is. If you have any questions regarding this examination, you can talk to me on my Instagram as well. So, Tibetans seek autonomy, not political separation from China. This has been said recently by the 14th Dalai Lama. As we all know that Tibet functions as an autonomous region of China, we have to know about the history of it because it is strategically very important from the perspective of Indian security. What he has exactly said, he is addressing the issues with respect to his health also. He says that China is also now changing. I think many people in Tibet love me. Similarly, many Chinese love me and so they want me to go back to Tibet. But I do not want to stay there because Lhasa is very high and Dharamshala is much more in favor of his health. So Lhasa, as he puts it, it's high and not very favorable when it comes to his health. He is actually running his government in exile from Dharamshala, India. And because India is hosting Dharamshala, the Tibetan exiled government, this has always been a bone of contention between India and China. Moving on. What is the institution of Dalai Lama? Dalai Lama, according to Tibetan Buddhism, is a manifestation of the Bodhisattva of compassion, that is Avalokitesvara. And the Dalai Lama institution has spanned across 14 generations throughout the 6 centuries. It is a very influential institution in the East Asian and Tibetan Buddhism. As a part of Mahayana sect, it believes that bodhisattvas have reached this highest realization, but they still choose to be reborn. Why? They choose to suffer so that they can take out all others, those who are suffering, from abyss and put them at a higher pedestal. So bodhisattvas, they have realized the true meaning of life. They are reborn time and again in order to make people understand the meaning of life. So this is what Avalokiteshvara does. And Bodhisattva further is divided into different lineages of rebirths by the name of tulkus. So any previous teacher, master or leader, if they are reborn, they are considered a tulku. And the institution, one of the tulkus is Dalai Lama. So Dalai Lama's institution in itself is a very influential institution. There are different tulkus. The most influential of them is Dalai Lama. The current Dalai Lama was enthroned when he was just 4.5 years of age. He was renamed Tenzin Gyatso. How do we select a Dalai Lama? It's actually based on usually predictions, but the second channel of security is testing. Predictions in the sense, when the 13th Dalai Lama died, his face was laying south. But after a period of time, his face started to point eastwards. And in the shrine where he was kept, on the northeast direction of it, a rare kind of fungus, unusual fungus was detected. So this made a prediction that the upcoming Dalai Lama, the 14th Dalai Lama, is born near north or northeast region. So this actually spanned across this region so that they can get a hold of the Dalai Lama after his death, after the death of the 13th Dalai Lama it happened. So Lamoi Latso, which is a lake that is traditionally used to see visions of the locations of the Lama's rebirth, this was used. The district of Dokham, which is to the northeast of Tibet, matched all of these signs. Then a 2-year-old boy who was named Lamo Dondu, the current Dalai Lama, he was chosen as the Dalai Lama, 14th Dalai Lama, but different kind of tests were done. In order to make sure that the village doesn't manipulate the results, the monks who went to his house, the 4.5-year-old Dalai Lama's house. They were dressed as servants. But the 4.5-year-old Dalai Lama was able to make out who were monks amongst them. Next time also when they visited, he clearly remembered through his memoirs, the 14th Dalai Lama has said, he clearly remembered what kind of rosary beads he used to wear, the drum he used to beat. So he remembered all those things. So we could say that all the predictions and the test, the check boxes were ticked and he was enthroned as the 14th Dalai Lama. Now, the thing is that we have to know about Tibet's history. Do you know, at the time of independence, India did not have any boundary with China? That's true. Because India didn't share a common boundary with China, this makes us aware of the fact that Tibet has been a separate nation. There were two separate nations, Sikkim, that is present day Xinjiang, of course, the Xinjiang province is where the Muslim population has been time and again suppressed by the Chinese government, the current government. So this was a separate nation. The Uyghur Muslims I am talking about. Then we have Tibet as well. And Shimla Convention of 1914 was signed between British India and the Tibetan government. But China does not accept it. China says that Tibet wasn't an independent nation. So China says that because of it, Tibet has not been in a position to agree to any boundaries or lines. All right, moving on. Now let's talk about Tibet's position as an independent nation. It has been an independent nation from at least the 7th century AD, beginning with the rule of Songtsen Gampo. Then it was an independent nation. It is known by the fact that in 1821-22 CE, Tibet and China, they signed a peace treaty as sovereign nations, free nations. Also in 1913, Tibet and Mongolia concluded a treaty of mutual recognition. For the next 36 years, the 13th Dalai Lama and the regents who succeeded him governed Tibet, even the 14th Dalai Lama. Tibet even established a foreign office in 1942. In 1946, it sent congratulatory missions to China and India that was related to the end of the World War II. When did China annex Tibet, in a sense? Tibet came under the influence of China as early as 1720. When a military expedition was given by the Qing Empire, it established Tibet as a Chinese protectorate. But, China also has, apologized to Tibet for it. It has been clearly stated. The Xinhai Revolution toppled the Qing dynasty. Then comes the New Republic of China. It apologized to Tibet for the actions of the king. The Dalai Lama declared himself the ruler of an independent Tibet. 1947. Let's talk about the year of independence. Tibet sent a delegation to the Asian Relations Conference in New Delhi, India, where it represented itself as an independent nation. India recognized it as an independent nation from 1947 onwards. Then comes the Chinese Civil War in 1949, which gave birth to People's Republic of China, and it was a mandate by them that we are going to liberate Tibet. On 7th October 1950, despite Tibet's call for help from India, India said, please, peacefully, try to resolve all your issues with China. But China was in no mood for peace. On 7th October 1950, the PLA boldly moved into Tibet, and many important leaders, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, he advocated to have a showdown with China. He also ensured that he has intelligence by the UK and the USA that could help them to ensure that Tibet remains independent. But the larger party of India, they were in favor of Hindi Chini Bhai Bhai. So this was a strategic blunder. We did not know back then that ceding a nation could also help China to be emboldened to get into our own nation, and that has happened. Moving on, championing, what could we done? What could we have done back then? We supported China's inclusion in the United Nations, so we could have used that as a leverage to be a mediator between Tibet and China, but we lost that. We could have retained our mission in Lhasa as well as military post at Gyanse and Yatung, but we did not do it. By the Panchsheel agreement that was signed, we surrendered our military facilities, communication facilities, Indian mission, and other substantial infrastructure, schools and hospitals to China. And that, of course, helped China for the 1962 war. When we do not do anything to preserve our borders, this will definitely happen, because it emboldens a country if they can, conquer an entire independent nation such as Tibet. Why cannot they conquer another nation? So it has, of course, given a boost to China's ego and tenacity, and India lost its major chunk of its territory in the 1962 war. Moving on. Tibet's spiritual leader, the Dalai Lama, has been a thorn on China's side since 1959. China has time and again called the Dalai Lama a splittist, a person who wants to split Tibet from China. Dalai Lama is a powerful symbol of Tibetan resistance, though at best is a toothless tiger. Do you know that in the past, sometimes even in the present, if some nation wants to register their protest against China, they can call the Dalai Lama to their nation as a guest, and it actually irks China a lot. But we have seen since the past few years the influence of Dalai Lama is waning in nature. The Dalai Lama changed his stance from full independence for Tibet that was advocated in 1961 to 1974. Now he is moving to more pragmatic middle path, more realist middle path. Even for Indians, if we talk about the situation in India, Prime Minister greeted the Dalai Lama publicly on his birthday in 2021-2022 after the India-China face-off in Ladakh. He did not greet the Dalai Lama in 2020, as around that time China had agreed to withdraw its troops from the Galwan. Now, this is the position that the Dalai Lama holds in the context of geopolitics. He has become a tool to irk China. However, he is still very influential when it comes to a chunk of population and in Tibet and China. So his words actually matter. For those of you who are looking for a batch, P2I batch is the one for you for UPSC examination. And you have to tell me in the comment segment, a prelims question has been promised. You have to tell me in the comment segment who was the first Dalai Lama. All right. These kind of questions could be asked in a statement form, but I asked you an easier one. The P2I batch I'm talking about is going to help you not only from the perspective of GS, but also CSAT, ethics, essay. You have papers, language papers, everything is included. Do not worry about anything else. Just make sure that you take admission before 30th of September, because this is a batch of 22nd. At 6 p.m. we are giving you the classes. Whatever classes you have missed, you will get it through the recorded version as well. Just use the code PDLive to ensure that you get this course at 29,999 only. Alright, so I hope you enjoyed this class. That's it. Thank you so much for watching.